What's up YouTube, it's PB. Not done one of these for a while, have I? I remember I used to start these videos every week and I used to say sorry that I've not done one, and I'd be a bit hard on myself. I've not done one for ages. The reason why, probably because I've been doing Instagram a lot more, but the main reason is I do a lot of the same jobs. So fix a lot of toilets, I fix a lot of boilers, do a lot of gas certificates. And I just feel like, how many times do you guys want to see me do the same job? So unless I've got something different or interesting, I don't really feel right putting it out there. But I get asked all the time when I'm doing another one of these. So maybe I'll try and make an effort to do more. But if you're missing out, if you want to see more of what I do, just follow me on Instagram, because I do something every day, either in the stories or on my main feed. What got to me last time, one guy, and I'm not moaning, but the last time I did a life of a job in Plumber, he put Instagram greatest hits, and he was kind of right, but it sort of made me feel even worse for doing it. But there is going to be some stuff that if you follow me on Instagram, you probably have already seen it. But what I am going to try and do is lengthen it out, because Instagram stuff is 60 seconds long, and I'm going to try and use that footage before I cut it back for Instagram to make a longer video explaining in a bit more depth on here on YouTube. So hopefully you'll still gain something from it. Having said that, there is an explanation on how 3-port mid-position valves work with regards to how they're wired, and the sequence of operation. That's at the end. That has been on my Instagram, so I've put that right at the end, so you can skip that if you want. But yeah, there's just a few jobs that I think there's quite a nice variation on this one. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for bearing with me. And I'll speak to you again during the video, I'm sure. Right guys, if it sounds a bit windy, you can hear birds cheeping, it's because I'm lying on the lawn on a Sunday afternoon because it's a nice day. And this is half the problem with why it takes me so long to do these videos, because I have to talk over them after I've done the job. So this is a Worcester Bosch that's been leaking, and it's been leaking from the air bottle. Now, the favourite thing about Worcester Bosch boiler is this drain off, because you can just drop the front cover, stick your hose on, and by the way, this piece of hose here is what you would get if you bought a condense pump. Just keep an off cut, you'll always have spare off them, fits perfectly, and you can use it to drain down with. So yeah, this is the best thing about a Worcester boiler. You just put your hose on and you turn it, so anti-clockwise, probably quarter of a turn, half a turn if that, and that will open up and it will drain your boiler. Obviously if your boiler's downstairs, you've got radiators upstairs, you have to isolate the flow and return, but the boiler's the highest point on this system, so I don't have to isolate anything else. So we're just draining the boiler down now so I can remove this auto air bottle. If you don't know what these air bottles look like, that's one there. So to get it out, use a pair of grips and just give it a quarter of a turn. This one's pretty crusty because it's been leaking a while, so it's quite difficult to get out, but they should just turn. You might have to push it down slightly, but a quarter of a turn if that, and that will release and then pop up. You might need to tease it out. As I say, this one's been leaking quite badly. There's quite a lot of crap on it holding it in, but normally it's just in on an O-ring. You can see the O-ring there, and these two wings, they push, so you push it down, turn it, and they catch underneath the body of the return manifold. So I've had to gently persuade that out, but you can see how badly this one's been not corroded, it's just got crap all over it. It's not corroded because it's a plastic part, so it's quite dirty. You can clean them up, but for the price of it, I think they're about 14 quid. If you're taking it out anyway, I just like to swap them. So what this does is when you're draining or filling the system, it lets the air out. So when you're putting new water in or you're taking water out, it lets air in or air out, and that's what they do. Obviously, if you've got air in the system, the boiler won't work, won't circulate. Now, to make this easier, because these are tricky to get back in sometimes, you can take that condense trap out, the siphon there to my left, which I didn't do straight away until I started to struggle. But put a bit of silicone grease on that O-ring, make sure that's clean on the inside, because it was quite dirty when I took it out. I made sure to give it a wipe out, but it can be a bit tricky to get back in. So whip your siphon out, should push down and give it a quarter turn to go back in, but that'll give you more access. Now we're only here to do the leak, so we're only here to fit the air bottle, but I've took that out, so I may as well give it a clean out. So your customers are getting some good value for money there, because that would not be done until they had the boiler serviced. If you do that, when you put it back in, make sure it's full of water. It needs to be refilled before you put it back in. Don't put an empty trap back in. So that just pushes on. They're dead easy to take out, these on the Worcesters, and then make sure you connect the black hose back onto it, just there. You can tell I talk over these videos after I've done them because things don't line up. So that's that done. While we've got it drained down, foot pump on the expansion vessel, because again, you're already drained down, won't take you long. And you might be able to diagnose another fault. You can see that that's completely flat, so it's a good job we did do it. This is a rental property, so they've probably never had this boiler serviced. So, you know, the customer's getting a really good job done here, because they're only paying me for the repair, and I'm doing a few extra little bits as well. But, you know, it just makes you a better engineer. So pumping that up to just over 1 bar. And then sit and watch it for a minute, see if it drops back down, because it was empty. If it does drop back down, then we can advise them they need a new expansion vessel. If it holds pressure like this one does, then we're all good. So that's pressurised. Take that off. I'll just show you. I've got the Regan foot pump, which is quite new. I normally use just a normal foot pump, but I bought the Regan one. But I do use this 90-degree adapter. You can get them from off the shelf at Plumber Centre. A lot easier to use. So we're closing the drain off. We've done the expansion vessel. Now, a quick one about these filling keys, because a lot of people struggle with these. Put a bit of grease on your O-rings so they go in easy, and it pushes up. And what I wanted to show you was the view from above. There is a little line on there, a little padlock to show you where to go. But basically, all you're looking for is the opening there to go through, like that, and then once you're through, you're just turning it to lock it in so you can't pull it back out. That's all you're doing. But a little bit of silicone grease will help you on them, because a lot of the time they're quite stiff. And then all we're doing now is filling it back up. It was quite a dry job this, but sometimes when I've worked on a boiler, I'll dry it out with a hairdryer. But yeah, we just have to turn the little white plastic square. You don't have to do 2 on this one, and it will start to refill. And then once I've refilled it, we'll just check anything we've touched. So the oil bottle I've done, have a look at that, make sure that's not leaking. Then run the boiler, check the condense trap, check the pressure doesn't rocket up, because we've worked on the expansion vessel. There's a wasp trying to sting me at the minute, sorry. What's up guys, quick little video to show you how I approached a boiler fault. Hopefully some of you will find this useful. So I was called out to this boiler because it was making a loud banging noise and the pressure gauge was jumping up and down. So the first thing I'm thinking is I've got a blockage somewhere. So I could see here that the diverter valve's been leaking at some point, so that points me to the diverter valve cartridge. But when I had a look at that, it seemed to be working okay, it was just a bit dirty. So all I did was clean that off, re-grease the O-rings and put that back together. So the next place I'm looking for a blockage is the plate heat exchanger, and when I took this off, you can see here on the flow primary side of the plate it's quite badly blocked. So I flushed as much of that out as possible, put that back together. Now one tip I will give you is on parts that have been leaking, if you give them a good clean, the next time you come to look at the boiler, you will know if you've cured the fault or if it's been leaking again. So having removed the blockage from the plate, you can see and hear now that the boiler is working fine. Right, we've all been out to these jobs. Electric shower where the customer rings up and says the water's leaking out the bottom of the shower, not coming out of the head. Which is quite scary considering there's 2 volts inside there. But anyway, if you don't know, I'm going to show you why it does it. Now, this is standard electric shower installation. They're never great in rental properties. They're normally not done right. There's a pipe somewhere. It's got a silicone sealant where there shouldn't be. Basically, this bit here is where the water's coming out from, and it's like a 3-bar pressure relief valve on a boiler. It's just a safety release valve. And what happens is when your shower head's blocked, if the hose kinked or anything like that, and the water can't escape from the shower head, if the pressure builds too much, the valve will pop and let the water out. Sometimes it's a little ball, sometimes it's a rubber diaphragm. So this is the piece here. You can readily get them. They're normally on the shelf. Basically the 2 screws, you pull them off and you can see inside there should be a rubber membrane. This is the new one. So you can see it's like scored in the middle, so there must be set certain pressures. But that goes back in there. We'll use the new piece that comes with it, the new tube, and that goes on the top. And then we screw that back together. So it's a dead easy little fix, but it's blown for a reason. So it's no good just fixing it, putting it back together and it working, because it will just go again. So we need to look at why it stopped working. So that's the safety valve refitted onto the shower. So this is the reason it stopped working. You can see these jets are sort of rubber, and they've become blocked, and it's probably because it's not been cleaned very often, but any kind of lime scale, anything in the water has blocked it. What I keep on the van is a box of shower spares, always replacing heads and shower flexes, because they don't last. So I'm just choosing a suitable one for this shower. That's Myra one. I've got a landlord who, when he buys his new showers, he puts his own shower heads on, so I do get a lot of spares. But you can see there, that's the shower all back up and running. Obviously it's not pissing out anymore, and it's coming out a nice new clean head. Job done. This is a video I did for Instagram and Twitter because the customer had asked me to make them some bathroom furniture out of copper. But what I was really showing on this one is the pipe vise. Now, you've probably never seen one of these before. They're from America and they're really unattainable for people in the UK because the postage costs more than the actual vise. But it's a really good bit of kit. I saw them on Instagram ages ago and I've wanted one for such a long time. And I was lucky enough that they sent me one out for free. They have asked me, because a lot of people, when they saw this video, inquired about the pipe vise, getting one themselves. And the company did say that if enough people from the UK wanted one, they might arrange to send over a pallet load for a lot cheaper postage. But I'll keep you posted on that. But that's the toilet roll holder I made, and I also made a hand towel holder to go next to the wash hand basin. You'll see the full finished bathroom of this soon on my Instagram. So this job I was called out to was a hot tap that was leaking. It was actually leaking down through the ceiling because the fibre washer on the tap adapter had gone. The reason, as you can see there, that the back nut is split on that top hat there. So the tap was moving, so every time they turned it on and off, it was spinning a little bit and it was just degrading that fibre washer. So I'm going to take the tap out completely using this Nerad Tools Tapex kit. If you've not seen this before, it's really good for removing taps. This one will fit your tap adapter nut, and it will also go over the top of that to go up and grab your back nut without changing the head. And it will also go down, if your pipe comes straight down, it will work around that. So it is a decent bit of kit if you're working on a lot of taps. It's quite expensive. I think it's about 150 quid for the kit. As I say, if you're doing a lot of taps, it's worth its weight in gold. I use mine all the time. So there's the split back nut. Now what I wanted to show you on this job is a new bit of kit that someone sent me to replace the standard top hat washer. The trouble is, there's your top hat there. The trouble is I've forgotten what it's called. I'm hoping when it flashes up now it's going to have a name on it. Can you read that? Split kicks. Split kick. I think you can buy these from Screwfix. The idea of it is it sort of fills the gap where your tap tail would normally come through to hold it a bit more central. I think that's the idea, but it also replaces a top hat. So you can see there I've pushed it into the hole on the basin. It didn't stay there very easy actually, it kept popping back out, especially when I went to put the tap tail from the top. So it is a bit fiddly to get in, but that's the idea of it. So every time I pushed it down like that, I've just popped it out of the way. So you've got to have both hands on it. Obviously I'm filming with one hand, so it's more difficult. and then you just do it back up with your new back nut without having to put a top hat there. I guess it saves a bit of space, smaller, more compact, but it also keeps the tap central. So there you can see it's attached, done the tap up, and what I will say is that tap is solid, it did work, so check them out if you think they're good. Yep. So now it's been a while since my last video, but in that time I've been to a lot of places, done a lot of things, and one of the things was Installer Show in Coventry in May. And if you've never been, it's just a show where you see new boilers and things, new products on the market, and there's two here in these next two clips. Now the first one is the new boiler from Worcester Bosch, the 8000, I think it's called the Style or the Lifestyle, but they had their new boiler there, and I got the guy who works on the stand to show me how the boiler works, the new features, things that you and me would want to know, like have they moved the PRV, can you get to the plate heat exchanger easy, things like that. So there's a 60-second explanation of that new boiler to look at. And then really interestingly, a company called Tesla have made a Wi-Fi enabled immersion heater, which I thought was really cool. Obviously not for everyone, but if you did want that option of controlling your hot water via a timer, because we all go into flats and they've got an immersion but it's an on-off switch, so if you're unlucky enough to have storage heaters, your hot water not even to have a timer on it, it's very, very old tech. And this I thought was a good idea, so you can retrofit it onto a standard immersion heater and then control it via an app on your phone, so you can program it on and off, you can do it remotely, it's all Wi-Fi enabled. So I thought that was really good, so there's a video on that now for you to watch.
Right guys, this is the new Green Star 8000 style. So we've got a reinforced steel front cover with two green clips at the bottom to take off. The access at the front is two green clips, that drops down. We've then got more green touch points. We've got the electrics access in there. The condense trap, we've got these green touch buttons, so we can unlock that and release the trap. PRV is at the front of the appliance. We then access otherwhere else. We've got the top panel which comes off, two side panels which are removable. And once you've got the two side panels off, you've then got access into the combustion chamber, where we've got a 10 litre expansion vessel to the left and this new C5 heat exchanger at the front. So as well as the style coming with a keyless filling loop, we also have this autofill optional extra. When you fit this will automatically monitor the boiler's pressure and top it up when it drops below 0.8 bar all the way up to 1.3, and it will do that a certain amount of times to make sure it doesn't over pressurise.
Hello mate, this is the new Tesla T-Smart immersion heater and stat from Tesla. It's a immersion heater that can be controlled by an app via your phone. And it's also manual, so you got your standard adjustable on the up and down temperatures on the actual stat itself. You got your target temperature at the top, you got your cylinder temperature at the bottom. So the app is quite simple, nice and clean. You just click on the temperature you want, the temperature will then change on the actual heater itself. So yeah, yet again, nice and simple. You can turn the heater off, on, brings a nice little, and it can also be retrofitted onto standard immersion heaters, instant 3/4. We've designed the cap in such a way that, you just link it up, the technology will click onto the top. If the immersion heater is on its side, it can just be flicked across and it can be lined up nice and neatly with a little grub screw at the bottom. We're very excited about this product. Thank you very much.
So this job's in my local Beaver Scout hut. For some reason they've got this tamper-proof clock. I guess so people who don't know what they're doing can't change the time. And they've got this sort of boost button in for half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours and some instructions. But the downside is there's no thermostat, so they can't regulate the temperature in the hall. I mean, it's a pretty big hall, so it's not going to work amazingly well. So I don't think the radiators have been sized correctly, but what we're going to do is fit a wireless room stat. Now it's going into this Worcester Bosch, so it's literally going to go where this blank plate is. Now this one's made by Drayton and it's exactly the same as the Worcester Bosch sort of official one, but it's half the price. Something went off, I don't know the story behind it, but something went off with Drayton were making these specifically for Worcester, and then they fell out or something, and then Drayton's kept making these and selling them for half the price. So you don't necessarily have to buy the official Worcester one for doing this. So hopefully we'll disconnect this will all be dead, and then they'll start using this programmer and this wireless stat, and hopefully that'll work. So first things first, all I've done is disconnected the switch lives and the feed over to this lot, and now we're going to install this. So first thing we need to do is pop that back up there. It's going to fall out, I know it is. Okay, so all we need to do is this one screw here. This piece lifts up. And then we pull the blank out, sort of tilt towards you, and then it can be quite fiddly, but it will come out. And then you see the new one here. It's just going to plug in to this block here, like this. Okay, so that's plugged in. Literally is as easy as that. And then pop that back on. Okay, so what I've done is I've disconnected the switch live and the feeds from this lot. Now, do not copy me on this. You need to check the manual, but when you get a boiler, you'll always have a link wire in, which means it will be able to run central heating without any demand, like any external timers or anything. So it comes out the factory with a link wire in. That would be removed when they wired in this stuff. So as I've took all this out, I've then made sure to put a link wire back in, otherwise this won't work. So that's that bit done. Now we'll fit the new stat. That's it, job done. New timer and stat, and then disconnected all of this stuff. Someone else can take this off, they might leave it on. They've not asked me to get rid of that, so it's all disconnected anyway. So yeah, nice easy little job that. What's up guys, quick 60-second fault finder video on this diverter valve stepper motor. So the first thing I want to check is if the circuit board's doing its job. Middle pin's the neutral, the right hand pin's the central heating. You can see there I've got 240 volts on the right hand pin, nothing on the left. When I open the tap though, the circuit board should put the 240 volts over onto the left hand pin, which it does. When I turn the tap off, it should then remove the voltage. So we've proved there that the circuit board's doing its job. The next thing I want to test is the motor itself, and we can do this by checking the resistance. This motor will either be in the heating or hot water position. So we can see here we've got a closed circuit on the heating side, and we're reading 6k ohms, which is about right, and an open circuit on the hot water side. If we open the tap and put the valve motor into the hot water position, it should now close that circuit and we should get the resistance through there. But you can see here we've got no resistance. That's telling me that this valve motor is faulty. Or an even easier way of looking at it, with the hot water selected, the pin should go in. With the heating selected, the pin should come out. I mean, we've all seen this hundreds of times, but for those of you that haven't, a little bit of a stain spreading across the plasterboard, coming through the paint. Quick whip off of the bath panel shows us that the bath's leaking. You normally get on the plasterboard under a bath, it won't be painted, you'll get an indication of where the bath's leaking from, so it's always a good place to start, have a look under. But as is always the case, this shower screen has probably not been fitted right. Saying that though, if you look there and you look on the outside, it looks like it was sealed before it was fitted. but we can tell from the water marks down the wall that it is getting in where this shower screen attaches to the wall. Normally what they'll do is they'll fit it and they'll silicone afterwards, but it looks like this one's been silicone first, so maybe where it's been drilled, or maybe there is a bit of a gap, but there's something wrong and that's where it's leaking through. So what I'll do here is I'll give them two options. I'll remove it and refit it if it's in decent nick, or I'll just tell them they need a new screen. So you may or you may not know, my granddad was a plumber as well, and he used to use these paraffin blowtorches, and he kept a lot. We've got a big collection, probably about 100 of them, and yeah, I just wanted to try one, so I bought myself some paraffin, bought some methylated spirits, looked online how to work them, because when my granddad would have been using these, I would have been you know, a small kid. I never actually saw him working with one, so I had a lot of fun cleaning it up, trying to get it working, learning how to work it, and it, yeah, brought back a lot of memories, made me think about my granddad. So here's the video of me using it. I had the first attempt I turned it into a flamethrower. It was a big yellow flame squirting liquid paraffin everywhere, but once I'd used it a couple of times, I managed to get the flame right, but it was a very, very hot flame. So you can see there on that 15mm copper, it gets too hot, so it's no good for soldering with, but it was a good experience. Right, this job was a landlord gas safety certificate, and I was just lighting the hob to see if it worked okay, and you can see every time I light another ring the flames reduce, which tells me it's not getting enough gas. So what that would mean is either the supply pipe to it's not big enough, or it's being blocked, or there's a kink in it. Just something's not right, basically. If it was just affecting one of the jets, then you could look at one of the burners, you could look at the individual jets, but because it's doing the whole hob, I'm suspecting the supply. So it's got an isolation valve on, which is good. It does reduce down to 10mm. So inspecting the pipe, having a look, but my gut feeling is that there's going to be some Boss White paste in there blocking it. And when I took it off, I did find that it is quite badly blocked, so it was quite awkward to film this, but I'm going to show you what I found inside the pipe. The worrying thing about this was the chap was telling me that he'd been in here for 5 years, and the hob had always been like it, so this has probably been like this from installation. So nothing in the actual isolation valve, but if we turn the camera upside down and have a look inside the pipe, you can see there that it's completely blocked apart from a tiny little hole in the middle. So this hob will have never gotten its full rate of gas because of this blockage. So all I'm going to do is clean this out. Now when I put this onto Twitter, and I think Instagram as well, a couple of guys pulled me up and said, why are you even doing that? Why, you know, you're there doing a gas certificate, if it's not working right, isolate it, cap it off and report it back to the landlord. It's not working. But I don't know if any of you are like me, but if something's wrong, I want to find out what's wrong with it. Now, I'm not saying that if it needed parts or anything, I would just do the job, but the actual investigation of me taking this nut off and seeing that the pipe was blocked is an extra 5-10 minutes on the job, so it's no biggie, and I can charge extra for my time. Hopefully they'll pay, but so that's me clearing the pipe. Now what I did after that was I put the gas back on, tried it again. I still had the same issue, still got low gas supply. So then I thought, right, if they've blocked it there, then it's probably going to be blocked where it connects onto the hob as well. So I took this elbow off. There was paste and tape on. Now that's normally a warning sign for me, because I would never use the two together. It's like putting paste on plastic stuff. You just don't do it. And you can see there how badly blocked that is. I mean, that's almost completely blocked. It's got a massive lump in there, and it's tangled in with the tape. The wash is not right. It's a rubber wash with paste on. It's just not been done right. So you can see that I'm pulling it out. It's a really big lump. And then all I did was put it all back together, tested it, it worked fine. So on this job, I rang the letting agency, told them what I'd done, told them what I'd found, added 35 quid onto the bill and I got paid. So, but yeah, normally, you know, normally cover your back, tell the customer there's something wrong, you're going to spend time looking into it. You can see there, that's what the hob should have looked like. Nice satisfying job that was. This is a video I did on Instagram. It would have had a soundtrack on it. I wouldn't have spoken over it, but basically I like to cut things open, see what's inside, see how they work. This is an expansion vessel off an unvented hot water system, and it's white, which means it's potable water, so drinking water. The ones you'd see in a combi boiler or on heating systems are generally red, although there is a certain company that makes blue ones, so you'd have to read the label on to see which one you've got. But as a general rule, white for potable water. And I just want to show you on the inside. So it's metal on the outside, and when we cut it open, you can see that we've got the sort of top half of it is empty, clear. That's where the air goes in, and then the water fills that balloon. The reason it does this is because with the water filling the balloon, the water will never come into contact with the metal. Only the air comes into contact with the metal. So it's not going to go rusty, it's not going to pick up any contaminants from the metal, and that's the way it works really. So what will happen is when your water gets hot, it expands, and that will, if it needs to, fill up into that balloon. The balloon will fill up with water, and the air will take up the cushion of that water. If you lose the air, it will overpressurize, and you'll start getting a drip from your PRV into your tun dish. But yeah, that's what's inside. What's up guys, so yesterday I swapped this valve actuator motor on a 3-port mid-position valve, and I wanted to do a 60-second fault finding video to explain what wire does what, and following a wiring diagram, the sequence of operation. Now, the reason I do the 60-second fault finding videos is to break things down into really simple terms to help people understand, especially those of you that are sort of too scared to ask questions. But there's a lot going on here, and it was too much for me to say in 60 seconds to make it clear and concise enough to help people understand. So this video is going to be a little bit longer, and it's going to be on my Instagram TV. So we'll start off by talking about the valve body itself. So this is a 3-port valve. We've got 3 ports here. Port AB, that's the heat from the boiler. Port B is the heat to the hot water cylinder, and port A is the heat to the radiators. Now this valve can sit in one of 3 positions. We can have port A closed, so the heat comes from the boiler and just as the hot water. We can have port B closed, so the heat comes from the boiler and just as the radiators. And we can have mid position, so the heat comes from the boiler and can go both to the radiator and the heating and the hot water. Now this is important because if we want to have heating on, but hot water's it's reached temperature and we don't want any hot water, we need to have the hot water port closed so the hot water doesn't keep increasing in temperature and the radiators can stay on. That's why we have a mid-position valve. So we're going to talk about following this wiring diagram. Now what I like to do is keep a wire plan and an S plan in a bookmark or a picture as a favourite on my phone, so I can easily access them for fault finding and also for wiring up new systems. So I'm going to try and keep this really basic. This is our programmer. When we're not calling for heat, you can see here we've got the live coming in and it's connected to terminal 1. So if we follow that, it goes up onto number 7 in the wiring centre, which is connected to our grey wire. The grey wire on a mid-position valve is hot water off. In this position, even though we've got 240 volts, it doesn't do anything. It's not turning the boiler on, it's not moving the valve, it's not doing anything. So we'll start by selecting hot water. So we slide our programmer across to hot water on continuous. What that does is it moves this switch over and puts our live onto number 3. So now if we follow the live, number 3 goes up into the wiring centre and to our cylinder stat. So we've now got 240 volts on the common on the cylinder stat. If the cylinder stat's not calling for heat, that carries on up to the hot water off, because we're not asking for hot water, so the hot water's off, and stays on that grey, 240 volt on the hot water off, the valve does nothing, the boiler doesn't fire. If we turn our cylinder stat up, or the temperature in the hot water cylinder drops, the switch moves across and then puts the live onto terminal 1. Now if we follow that up, you can see there, it goes all the way to the switch live on the boiler and fires the boiler up. So our cylinder stat's calling for hot water, we go straight to the boiler fires up. You'll notice though that the orange wire on our 3-port valve on our motor is also going to get alive, but it doesn't do anything. When it gets into the valve motor here on a circuit board, that's where it stops. So at this point, with hot water on, the orange wire does nothing, even though it's live. So hopefully you're with me so far. When we put central heating on, so we slide our programmer across onto central heating, the live goes on to number 4. And if we follow that across, number 4 into the wiring centre to our room thermostat. If our room thermostat's not calling, the live ends there. When the temperature of the room drops, or we turn the room thermostat up, the switch moves across, and then we carry on with the live onto the white wire on the 3-port. So the white wire on a 3-port, mid position, is heating on, okay? So we've got hot water on at the minute, so we've got switch live down to the boiler. The white wire becomes live. What that then does is it moves the valve paddle across to mid position. So it was blocking with just the hot water running, it's open to hot water and the heating's shut. When the white wire becomes live, it moves into the middle and allows us to go to hot water and heating. It doesn't at this stage do anything with the orange switch on orange wire. We're just using that white wire to move the valve into the mid position. It's only when we reach temperature for hot water, so we're at mid position now, we're doing hot water and heating. When our hot water gets hot enough, the cylinder stat moves back and puts a feed onto hot water off. What that does is then moves the paddle over here to block the hot water, so now we're just doing heating. So to explain it, we're satisfied on the cylinder thermostat, so we move across, so we lose our switch live to the boiler. The power goes onto the grey hot water off. Inside here is a mini circuit board. When we've got 240 on the white, so we're calling for central heating, and we've got 240 on the grey, so we're hot water off. That is when the orange becomes the switch live. Inside here, it connects and puts 240 onto the orange, which connects down to the switch live and fires the boiler up. So the boiler can fire up with the hot water being off and just do the radiators. Hopefully that's made sense. I might quickly run through it again. So white wire moves the valve into mid position when the hot water is on. White wire, when the hot water is off, joins up with the grey 240 from the hot water off, and when they're both 240, the orange becomes a switch live to send the switch live to the boiler to fire the boiler up. I'm hoping that's made sense. It's a lot to say, but that's basically how it works. So with regards to fault finding, you now know that on a mid position valve, your white is heating on, your grey is hot water off, and your orange becomes a switch live when both the white and the grey have 240 volts on them. Hope that helped. Any questions, stick them in the comments and I'll try and answer them the best I can. If anyone thinks I've said anything wrong, please let me know. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to explain things the best way I can. Thanks guys.